Hey, thanks much for tuning into the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. We are going to continue to dive into the book of Jude. And in verse 3, Jude is the author. God uses Jude, the half brother of Jesus, which is absolutely amazing. And he's writing to contend for our faith, to have the courage, have the confidence to fight for our faith. Why? Because in verse 4, it says, because there are going to be people who come in and deceive us and are going to twist the truth. And we have to be so careful because these people who are deceivers will worm their way in and they won't make themselves known like, hey, I'm a heretic. I'm going to teach a false teaching. No, that's not what they'll do. But they'll come in and they'll be smooth and they'll be a good communicator. And you have to be so careful to have the spirit of discernment and to know what is truth and what is false. And that's why he says we need to contend for our faith. Well, today we're going to talk about the consequences of giving in and lacking a submission of authority, and what the consequences of that is, and who is sovereign and who is not. Well, let's dive into verse 5. Though you already know all this, I want to remind you that the Lord at one time delivered his people out of Egypt, but later destroyed those who did not believe. If you read through the book of Exodus, that's what that is all about. God chose to use Moses and his brother Aaron to lead the people out of the captivity of the Egyptians and to lead them into the promised land. Joshua was the one who actually ended up leading them to the promised land. However, God out of his love delivered them. But he says this, and the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. In a similar way, Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual morality and perversion. They served as an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire. So Sodom and Gomorrah, if you are reading in the book of Genesis, towards the beginning there, that's Abram. Abram was God called to leave his country and his people, and he chose to do that. And then his brother Lot, and then they end up separating because Abram allowed Lot to pick the land. Lot chose the more fertile land, but it came at a price because it happened to be right next to Sodom and Gomorrah, which Sodom and Gomorrah, they gave themselves, it was such an evil. I mean, you think Las Vegas is Sin City. I mean, it probably pales in comparison to what Sodom and Gomorrah was. I mean, it was filled with depravity, filled with sexual immorality. And we see the destruction, the fire from heaven destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's saying here is, and hey, just like these angelic beings. And what is he saying here? Who is he talking about? And that is demons. That is the fallen angels. That is Satan was Lucifer, who was the most beautiful angel. He lacked submission of authority, wanted glory to himself, wanted his own authority, and people submitting to him. And God saw that and kicked them out. And it wasn't just Satan, but it was a third of the angels. And so that is the demons that are today. And that's why we have to be so careful, because the great news is that God uses us and uses people and uses his angels to protect us, to surround us, to guide us, which is absolutely amazing. But we have to understand that in the same way, Lucifer, Satan, uses his demons to conduct his work. And what is his work? What is his agenda? Well, the Bible says that no truth comes out of his mouth, that lies is his native tongue, and that he is here to steal, kill, and destroy. That is his agenda. And he's going to use people to really come in. And that's why Jude is saying, be careful, because there's going to be people that are going to come in and deceive. And why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? Well, because of their sexual immorality. And then just for a second here, and just want to talk real here because I understand the fight. I understand the battle for our sexual purity. And today is no different than it was back then. And even I feel like more so because you have access to such sexual immorality today. And I think that we have to be just like what Jude was saying, we have to contend for our faith. We have to contend for our purity. We have to fight for our purity. And it is a battle. And I understand, but I promise you this, you can have victory over it. You can have victory because with God, you are more powerful than any of the devil's schemes, any of the devil's temptations. You are more powerful than that, but you cannot do it on your own. You have to submit to God. You have to seek his power and authority. And also, you have to allow other people in your life accountability. And that is crucial. That is absolutely crucial to have these safeguards in place. Just like how Jude is saying to have safeguards in place for the church, we need to have safeguards in place for our purity. So if you don't have boundaries, if you don't have things in your life that you have safeguards in place to make sure that you are on the straight and narrow path to protect your purity, please do so. And if you have any questions, if you need help, if you need prayer, would you please reach out to us? We're not perfect, but we understand that there is power in community. There is power in confession. There is power in honesty and vulnerability. And impurity thrives on secrecy. And so I want us to confess. I want us to get it out in the light so that that doesn't have power over us, but we can have power over that and we can fight our battle of purity. Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth.